Help support the companies that support our community.
All right, today I'm going to go over my top 5 questions I get asked all the time in the comments. I will show you each tool, what I love about it, how it works so well, and why I use it all the time. All right, let's get started.
All right, we're going to start with the chuck. I get asked all the time in the comments, what chuck is that? This is an easy wood chuck, and everybody wants to know how you release the jaws, or want to see how easy it is. So it is this simple to release the jaws on this thing. You can change the jaws in 20, 30 seconds and put a brand new set on. It doesn't matter, all the jaws work the same. They all snap right in there. Even the cold jaws go right on there. So it's super easy chuck. That's why I love it and I use it all the time. Well, the other reason I use it all the time is because it's the only chuck I have. I don't need another one to have different jaws set up on it. It changes that fast. So let me get this on here. We'll move on to question number 2.
Number 2 is hot glue. So I use this all the time to mount pieces to waste blocks and turn them. I've been using this for 20 plus years. It's just regular craft glue. There's nothing special about it. You can pick it up anywhere. The key to getting this to work as far as turning project is you need a gun, big enough wattage to really heat the glue up. The little small craft glue guns won't work. They don't get the glue hot enough. So just get a big enough gun that actually heats the glue up, and I'll have a link down below in the description to one of them that works really well. So I found this at a yard sale probably, I don't know how long ago, probably 20 years ago, and I've been using it ever since. Like I said, I've been using it a long time. I've never had a piece come off the lathe. It never separated from that glue joint, and I've turned bowls, 12, 14 inches down to small stuff with it, and it's never failed me yet. So regular hot glue, just get a bigger gun.
I have a waste block. This is a piece of maple. I just dish it out just a little bit. I just load up the center of the piece I'm going to turn, so it'll fill up that waste block. Put it right up against there, smash it around a little bit, pull the tailstock up. Right there. Tighten it down and it smashes it together. The other thing I do is I run a bead around the back of it here just for safety. I just fill in that little groove right there all the way around. I let it set up for a couple of minutes. It only takes about 2 minutes and the glue will turn white, and then you're good to go. This piece is pretty small. It's about 5 by 2, but like I said earlier, I've turned much larger pieces than this, but the hot glue works fantastic. Turn the lathe speed up.
This is Texas ebony. It's a super hard wood. You can see I'm not really being that gentle with it. I'm taking some pretty aggressive cuts with it just to kind of show you how well that bond holds. As far as the glue, it works fantastic. The only thing you can't do is glue wet wood together. It won't work if it's wet, but if it's dry wood, they're good to go. And like I said before, I haven't had an issue with it yet. Number 3 is, what am I sanding with? So these are the 2 oils I use. I wet sand with these oils a lot because it captures all of the dust and it's putting the finish on at the same time. This one is Howard. It's feed and wax. It's a mixture of a beeswax and orange oil. I'll show you that in just a sec. And the other one I use is Doctor's walnut oil. So both these work great. It just kind of depends. I'm out of this one right now, so I'm using this one. They both do the same thing. Let me bring the camera over here. I'll show you how I apply it to the sandpaper and what I do in between grits. I just put a little bit on the sandpaper. A lot of times, depending on the shape of it, I'll just pour it right onto the piece of wood, turn the lathe speed down, and I go ahead and just run through all the grits just like I do with everything else. If I was dry sanding it, do the same thing. This stuff is nice and doesn't clog up the sandpaper. You can see it's clean and you can reuse it. run through all of the grits the same way. If I do have some torn grain or something I need to sand out, before I start putting the oil on, I'll dry sand those spots if they're bad. But it works really nice. You can see the little slurry there. That's capturing all that dust that would be in the air. In between each grit, just take a paper towel, wipe it off real quick, and move on to the next grit. I work my way all the way up through the grits with that. But these things, it works great. And if you like a satin finish like I do, it's perfect. It's putting the finish on and capturing all that sanding dust at the same time. If you do like a super high gloss finish, then you will have to dry sand. But I love it. Been using this stuff for years too. Just sanding with oils. I started out years ago doing it with just mineral oil, and mineral oil really doesn't cure. It doesn't dry, so I switched over and started using this and the doctors. Number 4 is the carving stand. You've probably seen me use this quite a bit. In fact, in the last video when I made the sink, I used this. So it's a super handy tool. It goes right into your banjo. Your chuck screws right onto it, and you can do any sort of carving, embellishing, power carving, whatever you want. Let me bring the camera a little closer and show you how it mounts onto the banjo. Just like your tool rest, it slides right into the banjo. You can adjust the height wherever you want it, and then you unscrew the chuck, the whole thing. You leave it all hooked up to your waste block or your bowl or whatever it is you're turning, and then this threads right onto there. I believe he has these in a couple different sizes, so if you have a different size chuck too. Lock it down like that. Like I said, you move it the height up and down. This loosens up. You move it any direction you want. It spins around. So if you're doing embellishing on the side, just lock it down, work on that for a little bit, loosen it up, turn it, lock it down. If you want to spin it around this way and work on it over there, it works fantastic. And when you have it locked down, let me go ahead and lock it down. And this handle's a spring on it too, so you can actually, if it hits in a bad spot, you can actually move that a little bit too. Lock it down and it's not going anywhere. So it's really handy to have. The sink I had on there last week was 22 inches across, and I'm power carving it on it with the turbo plane, and this thing did not budge. So it's super cool tool, especially if you like doing embellishment and stuff like that. Number 5 is the pneumatic sander. Every time I use this in a video, everybody wants to know where I got it. So along with everything else, I will have a link down below in the description. This is a super handy tool, especially if you like doing organic shapes, carving on things, and then you need to sand around corners and things like that. It has a bladder down here. It's a like tire inner tube, little bladder there, and it has a valve stem right there where you fill it up. Get these little sanding sleeves, they slide over it. Just hit it with a little bit of compressed air on the end there. It fills up the bladder. You can kind of deflate it a little bit too if you want to, if you want it a little gushier, so it kind of wraps around the corner and stuff. But it works fantastic. You put it on your drill. This is on a bearing in here. So this tool I've had, I'm going to say 15 years. I just a few months ago had to replace the little bladder that was inside of it. I had to get a new one of those. I think it was like $4. But as far as the bearings, handle, everything else works fantastic. So put it on your drill. So you have a piece here and you're carving on it. Just run right around the edge like that. And the grits come, I believe, from 80 up to 400 as far as the grits on the sleeves. But it works fantastic for going around the corners and things like that. Move it wherever you want. I also use this on the lathe quite a bit. And let me get that set up real quick and I'll show you how I do that. To use this on the lathe, I use the Jacobs chuck. I just mount it in there, tighten it down, just like the drill chuck. And then on this end, for the tailstock, I have an old live center, and I took the center pin out, so that little valve stem on the end there, you don't want to hit that, so that goes right inside of there, and it works out perfect. Put the live center in, bring it right up against the handle there, and this just supports it. You could actually use it without the tail stuck up, but this just gives it some extra support so it's not flexing it. So put a little bit of pressure on it, and it works fantastic, just like that. And for doing little pieces like this, a lot of times run it in reverse. I'll have the dust collection system set up. And what I try and do is work the whole piece of sandpaper. Don't just grind away on one spot in the center, because these things are glued together there. So you want to stay away from the seam as far as just grinding away at one spot. And then the little wax things, little erasers, they work fantastic for cleaning these things off. I do that every once in a while to get all that dust out of there. And for something, organic shape like that, you can actually just work your way all around it. And like I said before, you can deflate these a little bit too to make them a little bit soft. So I'm running it kind of slow, but I would normally have it up, I don't know, around 150 or so. And I sand a lot of stuff like this. It works great for getting around the corners and smoothing everything out. But super handy tool. After you're all done with it each time, make sure you release the pressure. It probably wouldn't be good for it if it just sat in there and with that pressure on the bladder. But I don't know, mine lasted about 15 years before I finally had to replace it. So I'm sure I forgot a couple of times. But yeah, super nice. If you want to change grits, you just pull it out of the chuck, pop a different one on. Works great. There's that little valve in there, and that's what the live center goes into. I hope that cleared up all the questions I had about those tools. If you have any other questions about anything else I use, leave them below in the comments, and I'll try and do another one of these in a month or so. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Take care and have a great weekend.
All right.